Ready to roll. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, January 11th, 2020. This is 2021, excuse me. Oof. This is I'm so used to saying 2020, right? Thank goodness we're out of 2020. 2021. This is a Municipal Caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council in effort to adhere to social distancing protocols and best practices imposed by the city and state authorities. The City of Jersey City has canceled all public meetings and closed non-essential services as of March 16, 2020 until further notice. As a result, this council caucus will be held virtually as a video conference with public access. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my computer is showing 4:02 p.m. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Ridley. It's not here yet. Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano. We muted your mic, Councilperson Baggiano. You just have to unmute yourself.
No, hold on.
There you go. That's it. Yes.
Katie.
You are here. Okay. Councilperson Soleil.
Here.
Okay, very good. Councilperson Solomon. Here. Councilperson Robinson.
Here.
Councilperson Lavarro.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman.
Thank you.
Here.
Katie, it's back.
Okay, we have 8 members in attendance.
I didn't touch that.
4:02 p.m. In addition, at its time for its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Thursday, January 7th, 2021 at 4 p.m. to the mayor, council, business administrator, and to the newspapers, and posted on the city's website so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Okay, council members, council president, ladies and gentlemen of members of the public, we have our honorable mayor, Stephen M. Fulop here, and he was going to make a presentation. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to our mayor. Mayor?
All right, thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody, for having me, Council President. I appreciate the opportunity. Just wanted to briefly touch on 3 ordinances of importance and give you a little bit of perspective and background on how the administration at least approached those. And so when you decide how to proceed, that you have a little bit of guidance on that. The first is the salary ordinance, the second is the marijuana tax ordinance, and the third is related to Baldwin Avenue. I'll start on the salary ordinance. Over the last year, we have tried to be diligent in correcting a lot of salary issues citywide. We did a salary study to create parity across genders and across responsibility in the city. And we've corrected, I would say, over a decade of discrepancies that existed there. Part of this is also correcting at the leadership level salaries. And one thing that we learned at the end of last year, or it became very apparent at the end of last year, was that our salaries are not in line with cities our size and cities in the region of similar geographic density. And the best example of that is we lost a talented business administrator. We weren't even remotely competitive. And as we started to look at that, we realized that we weren't competitive with other job responsibilities either. So what this salary ordinance is doing is basically pegging us to our sister city, Newark, at the leadership level, so that we're always going to be competitive. You get what you pay for on the salary front with leadership, and we want to make sure that we are competitive in attracting talent. Jersey City doesn't need to be the highest paid, but we shouldn't also be the lowest paid. The residents deserve quality and talented people, and this will hopefully put us on par with cities our size in the region. I do know firsthand that there are other directors that were in the similar predicament or are in the similar predicament to what Business Administrator Brian Platt was in. And we just want to make sure that we retain our talented people here in Jersey City. And that's the genesis of that ordinance. It doesn't touch the elected officials. So the council did some of this earlier last year. It keeps the council members and the mayor's ordinance salaries exactly where they were previously. So this is just cleaning up something that we think is important, and hopefully you find it in you to be supportive. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me or the business administrator now or afterwards. Any questions on that before I proceed to the Baldwin and the marijuana conversation?
I agree with you 100% on what you're saying about the salaries.
Thank you, Rich.
I have a question. This is Councilman Navarro.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the rationale is to be competitive with other cities of our size. A couple of things. Do we have salary comparisons with these other cities as it pertains to the specific positions that are in question? And then the second thing is that Mr. Platt was cited as a prime example of this. And so suggesting therefore that he left because of salary issues. Can we get specifics on the numbers there that would suggest that the numbers were out of line rather than just kind of take it at face value on that?
Yeah, absolutely. To give perspective on that, the salary that he was offered in Kansas City, I believe, was $260,000 plus perks. The salary that's offered for a similar position in Newark, I believe, is in line with Kansas City. Not to say that we would go up to those numbers, but it would at least peg us with the opportunity to attract talent. We were in the range of 170, I believe, so not remotely competitive on that front. If you look at health director, it's the same sort of thing. If you look at police leadership, it's the same sort of thing. If you look at economic development, it's the same sort of thing. So what we're trying to do is, rather than us arbitrarily picking a number that we collectively think is fair, whatever that means fair, we're going to let the marketplace dictate that and just be competitive with our sister cities in the region. And that way we'll be able to attract the best talent and retain the best talent, which I think is really important for the city to move forward.
Okay. Someone else?
Yeah, I have a question. Councilman Robinson here. Are these for the division directors as well, or is this just for, I guess, leadership?
These are for, we've adjusted the division directors earlier or mid last year and earlier last year based on the parity study. So we would find there were instances where you would have a division director making $70,000 and another division director making $90,000. And we brought in independent consultants to advise us on how to correct those sort of things. And we did correct that where we could. This is for the offices that are specifically in an ordinance that dictates it. So this does not pertain to the division directors. We did correct a lot of that, and we're happy to have a conversation further if you think that we're not in line with that. But our goal is to make sure that we are compensating people fairly and in line with what the marketplace is. Like I said earlier, we don't want to be above, we don't want to be below, we want to be competitive and in line. That's it.
Well, could the council also just get a salary breakdown of division directors and I guess NORC or whatever else to just make sure that we are in line as well, because I don't want to single out one group and leave the other group behind and say, what we're only doing is just for these, 5 or 6 directors, and we do have division directors, and so we can get the salary breakdowns for the division directors as well, and similar city sizes.
We will get you that, Councilman.
Yeah, Councilman, we have an analysis from when we did the study, so I'll be able to share it with council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Someone else?
I have a question on it looks like most of the tax department positions. Do those positions that are crossed out in the ordinance no longer exist, or are we looking to change those or get rid of those? I think it was like deputy tax assessor, tax collector.
Yeah, so in pursuant to some of these statutory officers, there are some state regulations that pin certain salaries to those. So they're in line with what the state is now, and then we just want to discuss with the state to see if we can have some little flexibility with that. But Largely, the result of that is because they have licenses that are issued by the state.
Okay.
Just for the record, I just wanted to mark Councilperson Ridley present. She was present at 4:05 PM, so we have now all 9 council members present. Sorry about that.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Councilmember Rolando.
As a question, the last change that was made to this ordinance and in amending the salaries for the department directors as well as the council previous to that had the authority to set the salaries or to approve the salaries that were being increased or proposed for increases in that regard. With the change last time, the city council essentially relinquished its authority. With these amendments, is that authority now returned to the council to be able to approve those salaries or potential increases to salaries or adjustments?
It would be the same thing. I mean, we're not looking for any deviation from what other cities do, and we're looking to be in line to able to attract talent. Other cities approach it exactly how it is today, and we're going to keep that process. There's still going to be the annual reviews at the end of the year, as you guys requested. That's going to be wrapping up obviously pretty soon as December is finished, but that process still remains. But whether every salary goes back to the council, there aren't cities similar to us in the region that approach it this way. So the short answer is no.
Okay,
Additional question. So as it pertains to increases and adjustments based on performance reviews, again, the last time we undertook this, it was suggested to the council that the performance reviews, that the basis of any increases would be based on performance reviews, and that that would be shared with the council and justified. But when the last set of increase changes or adjustments were made to various directors, I asked that very question, and those the information about performance reviews were denied with regard to that. Will that still be the same, or will it?
I can look into your request. I can look into your request, Councilman. I don't have that information on hand, and I could look into that and circle back with you.
okay. All right. Next one, Mayor.
Just really quick, I just wanted to highlight that the change on the tax or the implementation of a tax on the medical marijuana, I know that there was some suggestions from the council on allocating that dollars towards schools. Some council members approached me and asked if we could have a conversation around homelessness and addiction treatment. And I would just say that this is specifically around the medical marijuana portion of it. We are flexible. There's obviously going to be another implementation of a tax around the recreational use situation, as Jersey City seems to be a likely place where there will be dispensaries. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that that has been bifurcated, and you know, we remain supportive of whatever direction you want to go with. We just thought as a starting point here, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund was something that obviously is in need, and we wanted to be supportive of. So that was that. If there's any questions, that was just really quick. And then I just wanted to highlight the Baldwin Avenue. There's no questions on the marijuana?
On the marijuana, John, do you have estimates on the type of revenue or anticipated to be generated?
We don't have any information yet. It's a little early with that, as the licensing is just, you know, reaching the state level, and then, you know, the amount of dispensaries that open in the geographical area will determine that. But as we have more information, I'll be happy to provide with the council.
Well, there are models. Maybe they're not comparable models, but there are medical marijuana establishments throughout the state of New Jersey. Not many. I think it's somewhere between 6 to 12, maybe. I don't know the exact number, but it would be helpful to know what the numbers are and what kind of number they're generating and what kind of dollars we could expect to see from the medical marijuana side.
Sure, I'll take a look at those. I just wanted to be hypersensitive to the Jersey City geographical location.
Okay.
To my knowledge, other states that have done this, they receive more revenues from recreational marijuana than from medical marijuana. But I do think that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is a good place to start. But the lion's share of the revenue is whenever the state passes the recreational framework, the recreational marijuana framework.
Mhm. Okay, Mayor Baldwin.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the council for introducing this, and you're likely to see a subsequent similar ask of the council at the next council meeting regarding Summit. And I would just say that, our administration and many on the council have been huge advocates of more pedestrian safety, of more bike lanes that are protected throughout the city. We rehabilitated the entire snow plan for the city, and our planning department has done a parking master plan study, as well as a transit study to move buses quickly through the north to the south side of the city. All those things because we're interested in making our streets better for everybody. And what we wanted to do here on Baldwin, when there are major changes like potentially this or Summit, is to make sure that the council wants us to move forward in exploring these. So we're in the early stages of this right now, and we would hope to come back to you later in the year with details on how this will work if we move forward, what it could look like, how many parking spaces will be gained or lost, so that way you can actually make a decision that's informed, and we could actually share that with the community and have proper community meetings to make sure that there is buy-in, because something like this is a large change. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background, and we didn't want to start the process of studying it without the council actually expressing to us that this was something that they wanted to explore. So we're thankful that you introduced it. I spoke to the planning department, and we're going to start on really digging into the data on this so that we can come back to you with a real comprehensive plan on how we could potentially move forward.
Okay. Any questions?
I have questions.
Go ahead.
So with regard to the next, so you're saying at the next council meeting, there'll be an ordinance to do a similar change, I'm assuming to look to Summit Avenue as a southbound lane, and one-way as well, one-way southbound for traffic as well, and then a two-way bicycle lane, two-way bicycle traffic.
It's Councilman, it's all very early to say what it's going to look like, if it's going to be 2 lanes, one way, what a bike lane could look like, how can we properly protect it, make sure we maximize the parking. It would be way too early, but I don't want to start on a plan to turn, for example, Baldwin or Summit one way and then present to the council, and you guys have no interest in it whatsoever. So we were basically asking the council whether there is an interest to explore it, and the council said yes. So I couldn't tell you any of that stuff. I think the plan.
With all due respect, Mayor, that's not actually what's on the agenda. What's on the agenda is an ordinance to effectuate a one-way change of Baldwin Avenue as a northbound lane with a two-way bicycle track lane. And so I'm asking if Summit Avenue will be the same thing. If we were seeking, if I may, if we were seeking the council's input on it, the more appropriate mechanism might be to ask for a resolution asking us to explore this. And then the council could then vote on that and be able to say that that was appropriate and that they were willing to put. I actually raised at the last council meeting because we undertook something similar. If you recall, you did a similar study. You working with Councilman Yun, God rest his soul, that to look at Columbia Avenue, Liberty Avenue, and I believe it was either Terhune or Nelson Avenue. Those three of those streets, 3 out of those 4 streets, to look at changing them as to one-way directionals. Because of in the wake of a major snowstorm, there was an effort to try to change that so as to have better, be able to snow plow those streets better and have better circulation around those streets during snowstorms and so forth. After all of the study was done and completed, it was not actually effectuated, and I raised it at the last council meeting to say, what is our commitment here to actually see this through? Are we going to have the same, spend some money, a lot of money on a study, and then ultimately not see it? So I think it's appropriate to say that we look for the commitment to say moving forward, but that's not actually what's being voted on. It's actually, and that's why residents, rightfully so, are kind of coming forward and saying you need to pass this because the actual ordinance is saying change this now, right? It's not actually saying take a look at this and study it. So if it was more consistent with that, I think that would be appropriate, and I think it would be more appropriate to have something more consistent with.
Councilman, that's not, I was involved in those meetings on Columbia and the Slope, and that's not accurate how you portrayed it. I worked with Councilman Yun closely on that. We asked for a study. The study was done. We took the data and the information. We had many community meetings down there, and after looking at the data and the information, the community meetings led by John Saborowski at the time came back to us and said that they would prefer not to move forward on that. And then Councilman Yun expressed that to us, and we decided that that was the best way to proceed. You know, government is effective when you have a dialogue and you're able to provide data. If you want to rename and make a motion to rename the introduction ordinance to something that suits you better and you feel comfortable with it, by all means. It doesn't change what we're ultimately doing here, which is engaging the community in order to make these streets safer for everybody. And I would just say that nobody has been a bigger champion of more bike lanes throughout the city than me. And we continue to be committed to that. And we want to make sure that it's done properly. And we continue to work extremely closely with the bike advocates who we have partnered with on this. And we've shared with them prior to introducing this, that this is what we were doing. So of course, I'm sure you could say that some people have reached out to you and expressed X, Y, Z, but it isn't accurate to portray how it was at the Slope, and it isn't accurate to portray how this process started right now. So I would just say it would be unwise to pass an ordinance without having data. That's the reality. And I think Bike JC would actually support that position, saying that they want to make sure that they have data as well.
Yeah, but
Well, that's not actually what,
Okay.
that's not
No, Rick,
actually,
wait.
if I may.
You could, when it's not accurate, it is accurate, don't vote for it. I mean, vote for it, don't vote.
Let's get the facts straight.
Rich,
Facts matter, words matter.
could I
Let's get
say
the facts
something?
straight. The
I want
fact
y'all
is,
to go back and forth.
Councilman, whatever you like.
others are saying,
Rich.
pass the ordinance
Rich,
now.
are we gonna have a
It's a
meeting with
don't
this?
delay, pass it now. Now, let me just say
What-
this, is that I actually suggested the exact same thing at the last council meeting. I've actually been very open and honest and public about it and saying, we should go forward with the study and do some research. We should also impose a time frame on this so it doesn't go on indefinitely. And so that the people who are activists can be able to say that they know that there's going to be a conclusion and that they know that there's going to be what the process itself is going to look like. And that's not just going to be politics as usual, kind of playing this out. So,
Look, nobody's interested in the sideshow over here, so I appreciate your perspective. You can vote how you want to vote on it. I just wanted to express clearly from the administration side why we sponsored it, what we're asking to do, so that the public can hear very clearly what our intentions are. If you want to rename it, you want to vote yes, you want to reinvent the past, it doesn't matter. You're entitled to do that. But the reality is that we're asking for a very careful process to include the community, include the bike advocates, and remain committed to the improvements that we've already started with our Vision Zero and all the things that we're doing to make our complete street. So vote how you want to vote. I'm not here to argue with you. Okay?
Rolando, this
Mayor,
was
don't
supposed to
worry, I am going to vote the way I want to vote.
I'm happy that you are.
It's the double talk that I just want to make sure is on the record.
Rolando, as of last meeting, we said that we were going to pull it to ensure enough public notice and input
Right.
I
to any
understand,
changes
Rich, I
that are
understand.
made.
If you remember, I actually
There has to be a lot more
clarified the
community
question.
input into this whole situation.
I
Okay.
clarified the question. I spent more
Sean,
time trying to clarify that
Rich is
question.
frozen. I hear his voice, but I don't see him moving.
It's all on the public record, so the public can look at it very clearly.
Okay.
Council
All
members,
right.
council members, one thing I just want to state, if we can just let people finish speaking and not interrupt another council member, just let them finish their statement and then you can go on and speak, because when you're speaking over each other, it's very hard and to hear, and it's also very hard for the members of the public to determine who is actually speaking. I appreciate your cooperation with that.
Okay. Okay, Rich, do you have something to say? So they can get it clear on tape?
Yeah, as I said, we want to ensure enough public notice and input prior to any changes that are made. And we'll sit down, we're going to be contacting the community from the entire length of this process in Ward C. So it's going to be pulled Wednesday night. That was the deal we made last month at the last council meeting.
Okay. All right.
This is Councilman Solomon. I have two questions quickly. The first is in terms of it being polled, my understanding is there's a number of speakers who have signed up for the public speaking. Are we intending to motion to table before the public hearing or after?
So Councilman, as we discussed prior, I think it's better that we get the input after we have the data and everything aligned. I know Barca, I'm not sure if she's on the call, but Barca has spoke to some of those advocates and expressed to them that this was potentially going to be what was happening. They're still welcome to speak, during the speaking portion of the meeting, but we're going to table the ordinance prior to the public hearing.
Okay, I thank you, BA. I would recommend the alternate, of course, because if they're signed up to tell us what they think, we should listen to them, but I appreciate it. The second question was, do we have a timeline on the study and when we expect it to be complete and when we expect the public meetings to occur?
Councilman, I'm reluctant to give you a timeline, and the reason being is we're in a environment where it's very, very hard to pin down government to get anything done, to get data. If we use outside consultants, how do we do traffic counts? It'll be very, very difficult to do. It's a very changing and evolving environment. I'm sure you can appreciate. What I have informed the bike advocates is that at the end of the year, we are going to use this time. There's no urgency on this ultimately. We have a lot of time to figure it out properly, and we're going to work through 2021 to get them the data and to do the appropriate public meetings. That's all we've said.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Okay, Sean.
Council President, sorry. I just want to put on for the record that I will also express that I think it's appropriate that we're likely to have many people who are going to be coming here to speak at the council meeting on this, whether they're for or against it, whatever the case might be. I would encourage us as a council to allow for a public hearing, and for the record, to be clear, that even if we have the public hearing and we close it and new information should be made available or a new ordinance is introduced, even if we were to keep the same ordinance, the council could have another public hearing and have a second public hearing on it, on the same ordinance with the new additional information. I get to hear that. And for the record, I welcome all of the public input for whatever position people are standing on this issue.
Okay, but I believe they said they're going to table it before the public hearing. That's what they agreed to. So let's
I would
move
ask
on.
people to consider otherwise.
Okay. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, does anybody have any more questions for the mayor? Alrighty, hearing none, we're going to move on to our meeting. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Sean, I'm going to relocate downstairs, so I'll be back on in a minute.
Okay, no problem. Alrighty, so we already touched on 3.1 and 3.2, and we're going to go to 3.3, City Ordinance 21-003, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 332.9-9, stop intersections for new multi-way stops at various intersections in Ward E. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Item 3.4, City Ordinance 21-004, an ordinance adopting amendments to the Water Street redevelopment plan regarding property located at Block 20701, lots 4 and 5, and Block 20704, lots 1 and 2. I believe we have Matt
Yes.
Ward here from City Planning, and we have a number of members looking to speak on this ordinance. We have Jim McCann and his team that are going to be making a presentation as well. I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
Good evening, councilmen, council people. So this ordinance comes before you is in the Water Street redevelopment plan. In addition to the ordinance sheet and the fact sheet, there were 5 attachments that were submitted through iCompass along with this ordinance, and there should have been one more exhibit sent. I think it was just an addendum to one of the exhibits that added some more information or a rendering that shows you what the amendments proposed herein would allow. So I'm going to share my screen real quick to go through some of the attachments. And if you have any questions, please stop me. So 1 second. All right. Okay. Jeez. Sorry. All right. My computer seems to be running quite slow. One moment. Oh my. All right, I'll start with this map. It is the this is attachment 3 of the ordinance. It is a tax map, and what we've done is we've just augmented it a tiny bit to show a couple of things which are we've detailed in this legend on the side. So we're talking about an area that is right next to Route 440, and I was going to show you an aerial first.
Excuse me, Matt, we can't see your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I'm sorry.
Matt, did you hit share screen or
I
share?
did.
Can you try that again?
Yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
there it is. Hold on.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry about that. So we're looking at a tax map, and you see that now?
We can see it now.
Yes.
Great. All right. Sorry about that. So this is attachment 3 in this ordinance. And what we're showing here is just we added some extra information onto this tax map. So one is a red dotted line, which shows the Route 440 setback line. It's approximated, but it's 9 feet west of this block boundary here. And that's an ordinance that dates back to 2011 and 2012. It's in our LDO. Essentially what that does is that in the future, Jersey City, as part of that effort now almost 10 years ago, is looking to widen Route 440 to be a urban boulevard. Essentially, if you've been to Chicago, like a boulevard, but a little bit on steroids. So it could have BRT, it could have bike lanes, it will have local lanes on the sides. So as Bayfront comes before the council for amendments, we anticipate coming before you soon. You'll see this again. We're starting to see these elements of the urban boulevard for Route 440 come to life. And this amendment allows that to happen. Right now, and I'm going to try to go back, but the pictures I think are very high resolution and my connection is bad. On this strip is a garden center and associated parking. To the east of that, in this area, is a development. And what is essentially happening is because this area is privately owned and fully within the setback line, which is delineated here in the red dots, it is essentially going to be part of a new road. The private ownership, should no longer exist. This ordinance has been in place since 2011, 2012. Another word for this is a regulatory taking. So the city or the state, because it is a state route, would have to undertake a condemnation of this property to effectuate this widening of this road. Now there is an active developer here, development going up. It's a multi-phase project, and let me see if I can do this now, because it would be very helpful. Oh my. Okay. So as I zoom in, so this yellow line is delineating their development site. It's multiple phases. If you go down Clark Street or Claremont, you will see those phases coming up. They are nearly done with their earliest phases, and there are, I believe, 1 or 2 more phases after that. They are the, I believe, contract purchasers for these properties, the garden. Oops, I meant to change pages. One moment. They are the contract purchasers for the garden center, and they are looking to use the FAR that's permitted in the plan on the phases which are just on the other side of what's called Water Street. I'll keep doing that, 1 second. These are just some more photos of the area. Here is this is a preliminary drawing showing the development sites that are inbound of the widening of Route 440 and where this garden center is located. And again, we're back at that tax map. I'm sorry if I was jumping around, but that is essentially what it does. It allows for the development potential here, which cannot be built out because it is fully within the right-of-way line, and it allows it to move right adjacent to these tax parcels. There is Jim McCann of Connell Foley on behalf of the petitioner of this amendment here, but I hope that I was able to go through what this was effectuating.
Matt, can I ask you a question? You're saying
Sure.
the garden center's leaving?
The garden center, I believe that the petitioner of this amendment is the contract purchaser for the garden center. They were looking to, I believe, sell the property when they signed the contract to purchase this.
Well, we're losing everything that's nice in Jersey City. I mean, this is a shame. That's one of the nicest places along Route 440 to stop and buy vegetables and buy fruit and things. It's a shame.
So Matt, I have a question.
Yes, Denise.
The blue area, that's the lots that the developer already owns, correct?
Correct.
So we're
They also-
looking, just to simplify it, we're looking to move that green area into the blue area, is what you're pretty much saying.
Correct.
But if they already own the blue area, why do we need permission to move that green into the blue if they can't build in the green anyway?
No, what it would allow would be so that the owner of this will be able to use and add the development potential here onto the already existing potential. So it will increase the FAR that's allowed, but it's because this otherwise is a regulatory taking that the city would have to condemn. We would have to take action to effectuate our existing ordinance that's been on the books since 2011, 2012, and to ensure that this property becomes part of the future right-of-way of Route 440.
Okay, and then one more question. Since this is coming up now with this area, are we going to have, or how much potential is there for this same issue to occur with the rest of the, I guess, lots that are on 440 beyond that dotted line?
That's a very good question. So let me go. These pictures really slow. Maybe it'd be easier if I do this. No, I don't think it is. I obviously needed a new laptop at home here. 1 second. There we are. So if you can draw a visual line in NJCU West Campus, it's being accounted for. In the redevelopment plan, which is Route 440 Culver, it is also being accounted for through standards that are also in the redevelopment plan. This area here, which is right in front of, I believe it's, if I remember correctly, that's 17 Bennett. There's an approval on this site for a Starbucks, and they are setting back from and observing that setback line. And then this property will be one of the biggest that will be impacted in this map. This site is also within the Water Street redevelopment plan. And there will be occasions where the city or the state will have to condemn property for public purpose to widen Route 440 as it's envisioned, dating back now about 10 years to this urban boulevard design. So to answer your question, there will be most likely condemnation that will occur in the future to carry out this vision. This is one example where through this amendment, the city is being alleviated of that requirement.
Can you speak to that more? What do you mean being alleviated of that requirement?
So they are, what this amendment is allowing to happen is they will build the road out for a local service. Essentially, Water Street already exists. So in this area, the urban boulevard design essentially already exists. There may be changes down the line once it becomes a full corridor, but they are going to demo the existing building on site, the garden center, tear out the associated parking area, put in new curbing and landscaping to formalize this urban boulevard for this block from Claremont to Clark, and then they will dedicate that to the city.
Okay, someone else?
So
Okay.
can I ask on that? Okay, can you go back to the map with the blue and the green?
Sure. Getting better at this.
Okay.
All right.
So I just want to get clarification for myself. So as I understood it from the way Councilperson Ridley asked the question and the way you explained it, that green section right now is private land, right? Privately owned?
Correct.
And the blue is privately owned.
That's correct.
And the green is going to be taken under, or could be taken for the public good, the expansion of the highway.
Correct.
And in exchange for that, they're going to increase the FAR in blue to offset the loss of that property in green.
Yeah, they're going to transfer the FAR. So it's not going to be an increase of what this green area already is and what the plan already permits.
So who currently owns the green and who owns the blue?
I do not know. Maybe Jim McCann would be able to answer those questions.
I can, if it pleases the council, for sure. Good evening, Council President and Council. My name is Jim McCann. I'm here tonight on behalf of 100 Water Street, who's the petitioner for this amendment. I think Matt's done a pretty good job. If I could just clarify a few things that he said, and first I will confirm for you that my client has purchased lot 5, which is the bottom lot in that green strip, and my client has a contract to purchase lot 4, which is in fact the garden center that Councilman Baggione referenced and Matt. I'd like to assure you that the garden center can stay there as long as it wants. The gentleman who owns it wants to wind down his operation of his own volition, and he came to my client and asked, because he knows my client owns the property across the street, if my client would buy the property from him. So my client said yes, but that gentleman is not being pushed out of his property in any way, shape, or form.
Who's your client?
My client is 100 Water Street Development. It's Fields Development, Rob Caulfield and James Caulfield.
Got it.
And they're actually purchasing those properties at the market value. Both of those properties, the lot below it is a parking lot. It's kind of an informal, unregulated parking lot. But so my client's purchasing both of those properties at market value. I think what Matt may have not made super clear to you is that what my client's proposing to do is then dedicate for $10 those properties to the city so that it will save the money, any costs that it would incur if it had to condemn that property from whoever the owners were at the time that 440 is to be expanded. So I think that's one of the important things about this. And that saves the city a whole lot of money. Now, in exchange for that, the developer is asking that the floor area that could be developed on those two lots be transferred across the street to the lots that it already owns and it's already developing pursuant to the redevelopment plan. And as Matt said, that area that he showed you is the redevelopment area. My client has one building already constructed and still has the right to develop the rest of that site. It's also built out all the street improvements there as part of the first phase of the project. The other, I think, benefit to the city for this transaction is that in the interim, Water Street is a public right-of-way, but it's not really in the greatest shape right now. And what my client has agreed to do in conjunction with the planning department and with Mr. Ward is actually improve that area at its sole cost and expense to get it ready for use by the city as part of Route 440. But even in the interim, beautify that strip of Water Street so that we could, if you look at your amendment, we're going to demolish the existing structures before the dedication, so city wouldn't have to pay for the demolition costs. And then the developer will, working with planning, create some public parking, put some landscaping in that area so that while the area is waiting to be used for the expansion of Route 440, it can also be bettered and beautified for the residents of the neighborhood and also provide some additional parking and some new inlets, some new sewer and water infrastructure, sidewalks and landscaping. So we've really worked pretty hard with Mr. Ward and Tanya to try to make this a balanced transaction so that the city and the developer can get some benefit from a long-term project that the city has wanted to do for a long time. And the developer, of course, if that area is beautified, gets the benefit because it's right out its back door of the project. We've also agreed to sign a redevelopment agreement with the JCRA so that, Councilman Ridley, you would know this, so that the developer is absolutely obligated to make these improvements. So we've agreed to do that. And I think other than that, Matt did a great job of explaining it.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay. All right. Sean?
Council President, Councilman Solomon. There's just one quick question. This is for, I guess, for our law department. Could you just explain if this change triggers our IZO or does not, and why?
I could explain that if you would like, but I'll defer to the law department.
Peter? Anyone? I don't know who's on. All you see is initials.
Sorry about that. Jim, I can defer to you if you would like to explain, and then I can follow
Sure.
up with you.
Absolutely. So I studied your new ordinance, and it does not apply to this particular circumstance because if you look, section 187-3A of your new ordinance, which went into effect at the beginning of this year, provides that if the developer is asking for additional floor area beyond the permitted existing zoning. So that would mean if additional floor area is being asked for, that's not the case here because the green strip already has a zone, it's already part of the redevelopment plan There's already zoning requirements that apply to it in terms of the number of the floor area that could be put on that unit, on that land. All that we're asking is to transfer it. So we're not asking for any additional floor area from to add to the redevelopment plan. We're just really asking to move it east from the westerly side of water over to the easterly side to be incorporated into the existing development project. So I truly don't believe that ordinance applies in this case.
And
Was
Jim,
there a memo?
Jim, I may follow up with you then offline just to confirm
Right.
everything on that point.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
So Jim, Councilman Robinson here. So what you're saying is that
They'll get more
you're
land.
gonna move all of the floor area from the green and put it on the blue.
Yes, sir. Yes, Councilman.
And what is that zone for? How many units? The green?
So there's approximately 93,000 square feet of floor area on those two lots, Lot 4 and Lot 5. According to the Water Street redevelopment plan. What we're asking to do is the council to allow us to move it across to the other side of Water Street so it could be used within the existing project. So because that F floor area is already in the redevelopment plan, we're not asking for any additional floor area. We're just asking to relocate it, basically. And actually, we have an exhibit that we could show you, if you wouldn't mind, if you would give me one more minute. I think I could make it very clear to you.
Well, let me ask you something, but anytime you ask for, anytime you ask for boundaries or anything to be added, to me, it seemed like you are adding it. You're saying just transfer, but you're still adding it.
No,
maybe some of our planning I don't understand.
No, we're really not, because the Lot 4 and 5, the green lots, are already within the boundaries of the redevelopment plan. We're not asking you to add those in. They're already within the redevelopment plan. So the existing permitted zoning already allows for my client, if they wanted to, it would be kind of silly, but if they wanted to, they could build new buildings on those two lots.
Right.
Eventually, the city would have to condemn them. So we're not asking for any additional floor area. All we're asking it to do is move it from one side of the street to the other.
93,000 square feet. That's how many floors that they're gonna add on that? I don't know what the lot size of the blue is.
It's, I do. One lot is 3,000 square feet. The other lot is 9,100 square feet. The big lot, the garden center lot, is 9,100 square feet. The parking lot is 3,000 square feet.
So,
And I guess I got a question for Matt. How far is 440 going to be extended? Is it the whole length, or is it just this area here?
The
red dotted line. That
so yeah, so the urban boulevard isn't going to go any further north than the Communipaw intersection, and one of the main linchpins of this getting done is redesigning that intersection. So right now it's segmented. There's pieces and developments that are setting back and observing this setback line that's been in place now for almost 10 years. But you won't see that what's called the street section. You won't see the full build out of the urban boulevard until we really can tie into a fixed and updated intersection at Communipaw, Truck 19, Route 440. But on the south side, I guess to answer your question, I believe it just goes up into I think it goes to Danforth, or just beyond adjacent to, yeah, no, I think it goes just to Danforth.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, if I may, or actually requests. First requests and then questions. Requests to the legal opinion that was offered by Mr. McCann. With all due respect to Mr. McCann, who represents his client, I would ask our law department to furnish the city council, and I hope we will all be reliant upon a more objective, no disrespect intended, Mr. McCann, but I would prefer to have a more objective opinion as to, and I would question that as well, but anyway, I would like an objective opinion about the legality on the IZO and the application of the IZO as it pertains to this particular amendment. So asking the law department to please furnish that ASAP, citing your sources and your legal precedents on that thing.
Yeah, we can do that. We will review and give our input as to that issue.
Okay. Thank you.
My second thing is was there any financial analysis done of this sort of change in zoning? I know that you suggested that because there's no FAR and it doesn't trigger an IZO, but I would hazard to guess that there is considerable financial benefit to the applicant and the client here, which Mr. McCann represents. Has any financial analysis been done by the city?
No.
No. And is it been contemplated to do that or no?
I think we might have switched our professional services, but I think I'll see if I can reach out to start that process.
So
if the council wishes.
So let me just share my rationale here, and I'm not looking for a response necessarily, but I wanted to get this on the record and to share this with the council. And this is just on first blush. So like I reviewed it, and now I have a much better sense of like what's happening here, which is that that green area where transferring the land, you're under contract, and in one case you have it under acquisition, or you've already acquired the property. In that green area, it's 93,000 square feet of FAR that's being transferred over to the blue area. And so you're saying it's basically equitable kind of trade-off in that sense. I would argue otherwise, right? So the idea that somehow it's equitable is that property is already in the green area. It's understood that there's going to be an expansion of Route 440, and it's going to widen that street. So those properties are already in that path. Unfortunately for them, that there's a certain value to that. Like so whoever wants to buy it knows that they really can't get like. I mean, they could try to build on it, and as you said, somebody could build on it, but by the time the state and the city and everybody decides to expand they'll have a good case to be able to exercise eminent domain and ultimately acquire the property. So the value of that property is essentially capped at some level because of what it potentially is, because of the potential expansion and the public good and benefits that might occur as a result. But by moving it over to the other side, you're putting it on private property and being able to expand that, and then the properties are all, you're increasing the value of that by essentially zoning it for more profitable uses, essentially, right? So similar to what we just experienced at the last council meeting, essentially, right? So ergo, I'd ask, should we be looking at what the financial analysis is here? Because I do think we're going to find, if you did that the financial analysis is completely out of whack, and that it potentially is not equitable for the city in that sense, in that regard. And the second thing, and then the second question I have, which is directed more to Matt, as well, is that, as you said, going further north of this property and this development, is the amendment changing the same zoning rights for similar slithers of property going further north up to Communal Avenue, or is it just relegated to those green and blue areas?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is the amendment that would transfer the essentially the development rights from those green areas that would be comparable going north of those properties going up to Communal Avenue, is it also doing the same thing to transfer it to similar blue areas on the east side of the Water Street line, and giving the same rights and, to those other similar properties going forward up there?
No, simply because this is more of a unique situation where there's no other blocks that are split by the existence of Water Street. So no, this
There's
amendment
potential
only.
takings up there, right?
Yes.
So
Yes,
there's potential
I mean,
takings up
that's-
there, and then south of that block as well, you mentioned to Councilperson Ridley, that south of that, there are potentially other areas where you'll see similar takings and, as a result as for the public good and so forth around that, to expand the street. Why would we
Right.
not give the same rights there? I'm just, and again, this maybe should be posed to the legal department, but I think potentially, are we not opening ourselves up to some liability issues with regard to someone has a property that would be equivalent to those blue areas further north or further south, saying, why are they getting increases and why am I not getting an increase over here?
Well, that's actually not correct. So the existence of Water Street doesn't exist north. So if someone's to say, like on that site that we anticipate a Starbucks to be built, they could just move the bulk of their building back and use all of that bulk to go up higher. So it might be a question of the maximum height being an issue, but that they're still able to use the FAR that exists through the zoning, just in a different form that also observes the Route 440 setback line. Going south in the Route 440 Culver redevelopment plan, there's provisions in that plan that require the widening of Route 440, and it actually then, by doing so voluntarily and essentially doing what this amendment does, dedicating it over to the city, they effectuate a bonus and get bonus FAR under the provisions of that redevelopment plan. Going further south over to where the Home Depot is, the site has been approved in a manner that already observes that setback line. So it's just the city or the state at the time it wants to build out this boulevard, acquiring a green berm and some sidewalk area.
So question, Matt, and I think maybe this is some of what Councilman Lavarro might be thinking. So like the Kia and the Honda dealership, they have a street that runs in between their property, and the car lot is right at the 440 line with the street in between, and then the actual dealership.
Right.
So they would be afforded the same, I guess, opportunity as the development here by the fruit stand, or how would that work?
To be honest, I'd have to look up that question. They're in the Route 440 Culver redevelopment plan, which does account for the future roads that were anticipated in that area. Water Street is a much older redevelopment plan than Route 440 Culver, so there is different considerations put into those plans when they came to be adopted. So I'd have to get back to you on that question. It is a good one, but I'm not prepared to answer it.
Okay, and I think just offhand, I think that's the only other section where we really have that situation, because as you stated, everything else is pretty much pushed back, Home Depot and JCU.
Okay.
Council President, can I address Councilman Lavarro's questions a little bit?
Won't you email them? Because the only reason why I'm saying it, because this has been 30 minutes on this. Rolando, is you okay with him emailing you everything? Because they want to move on.
I'm okay with that, Council President.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Well,
So Tim, email them. And Rolando, email him more questions if you have it, okay?
Sure. I mean, most of my questions were directed at Corporation Counsel. I mean,
Right. It wasn't even him.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on, Sean.
Alrighty,
Can I get CC'd on that as well? Or can you send it to the whole council?
They'll send it to the whole council,
Okay,
Yes, of course.
thank you.
okay?
okay. Next, we're going on to our second readings. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 20-108 is an ordinance rescinding Ordinance 12-149, Ordinance 12-150, Ordinance 12-151, 12-152, and terminating the tax exemptions and financial agreements with BR Mercury Urban Renewal Company, LLC, BR Orpheum Urban Renewal Company, LLC, BR Paramount Urban Renewal Company, LLC, and BR Tower Urban Renewal Company, LLC. Any questions or comments on this second reading ordinance? Okay, hearing none. Item 4.2, City Ordinance 20-109, an ordinance establishing the Arts and Culture Trust Fund to create funding sources for arts organizations in the city of Jersey City. Any questions or comments on the second reading? Okay, hearing none. We touched on the Baldwin already. Item 4.4, City Ordinance 20-111, an ordinance amending Chapter 321 Trees of the Municipal Code of the City of Jersey City. Any questions or comments on this ordinance?
I just had a comment, I guess. I saw that, there were some amendments made regarding the trunk roots for the trees, that they can't come into contact with anything. I want to know, because I know Central Avenue has a lot of the metal plates that go on the bottom of the trunk for the trees. And essentially, I was told the trees being planted on Central Avenue would require that. So I want to know if this ordinance would be prohibiting those grates that we have on Central Avenue, and if it is, can we make an exception for commercial districts?
So Yusuf, I'll take that back to the Shade Tree Committee and also the Forester. A lot of the specificity about materials that can and can't be used, trees that should and should not be used, are going to be further explained in the forestry standards. So that's one of the reasons why the Shade Tree Committee is currently working on that. This ordinance, for the most part, was to update things like fees and do things that more strongly refer back to that. Now, I know that David Diaz, when he was still director of the SID, did come before the Shade Tree Committee to talk about this issue specifically. Right now, the way that some best practices are, these kind of tree grates are not part of that, so they're still being further explored. But that would probably be better addressed in the forestry standards.
Okay, just because we have the whole Central Avenue streetscape being redone right now, and that's this is part of what the Shade Tree Committee talked about last year. So it's definitely on our radar. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Okay.
Okay. On to item 4.5, City Ordinance 20-112, an ordinance of the Jersey City Municipal Council adopting amendments to the Land Development Ordinance, Chapter 345, Article 3, Section 17, Traffic Impact Analysis, and Section 18, Visual Impact Analysis. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, hearing none. Item 4.6, City Ordinance 20-114, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting amendments to the Exchange Place North Redevelopment Plan regarding the addition of research testing laboratory uses. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, hearing none. Council members, just a reminder, we will be having a special improvement district assessment public hearing on the 2021 Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget. And then we will conduct our public request for a hearing.
Sean,
Yes.
to that end, just request that you notify the SID. I actually just ran into the SID director who was unaware that this was on the agenda for public hearing. So if you can please formally notify them.
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.30. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment. With specifically 6.4, there's a letter from environmental consultants to the property owner of 417 Communicable Avenue, also known as the Steel Technology Site, which we discussed at the last council meeting. This letter is dated December 1st. I wanted to ask if I understand the letter correctly, it is providing they did an on-site response action outcome, some sort of a study or assessment of the remedial actions needed there. I'd like to know who commissioned this, if we can find that out, and if someone from the administration could advise as to what who commissioned this study and when was this commissioned and under what whose authority, if it was from the city. The letter is directed to the city. It does not seem to indicate to anyone from the Skyline Development in the any of the CCs. This is all directed to city personnel. So ask for clarification on that from anyone from the city on this. And maybe it was done by Mr. Spota himself and J.C. McElroy, but that's unclear.
Okay, John, could you find out about this, plees?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have an answer before Wednesday.
Okay.
Is that the only question or comment on the petitions and communications?
That's the only one I have.
Righty. No, there's no Office of Communications. Okay, on items 8.1, reported directors, 8.1 through 8.8. Any questions or comments on those? Next, we will have our claims when they are uploaded to the agenda. And then we're going to our resolutions. Item 10.1, City Resolution 21-005 is a resolution authorizing refunds to the overpayments for property tax accounts. Item 10.2, Resolution 21-006 is a resolution authorizing refunds due to New Jersey Tax Court appeals on various property tax accounts. Item 10.3, Resolution 21-007 is a resolution authorizing the cancellation of tax balances, lot cleaning charges, abatement charges, special improvement charges, and credits of $10 or less for the tax year 2020 and prior years. Item 10.4, Resolution 21-008, resolution authorizing the settlement of assessment appeals filed before the tax court in New Jersey on various properties. Item 10.5, City Resolution 21-009. It's a resolution urging the Biden administration to support immigrants and dismantle the xenophobic, executive orders. Xenophobic, apologize about that. Item 10.6, Resolution 21-010. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to enter into an agreement with World Economic Forum, LLC. Item 10.7, City Resolution 21-011. It's a resolution adopting and ratifying the 2021 budget of the Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City. Item 10.8, City Resolution 21-012. It's a resolution accepting the assessment role of the Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City. Item 10.9, City Resolution 21-013, resolution appointing John Manila as a member of the Jersey City Medical Center Board of Trustees.
How many people do we have?
Can we request Chief of Staff Manila's resume? It was not attached, but I believe that is the standard practice.
Sure, will do.
Sean,
Sorry,
how many
Councilman, I believe
people,
that was sent to me in an email and I just didn't attach it. I'll make sure it's on there.
Sean,
Thank
how many people do we have on the medical center board?
So the mayor is allowed to appoint 3 members.
3 members? All right,
Yes, and it's by advice and consent of the municipal council.
all right.
And actually, I had one more question, which was, who is he replacing on the board? Should he be?
I think it's in the letter. Just bear with me 1 second.
Sean, is it Gigi or Veronica?
I believe it's actually Gigi. Gigi Kassan. Thanks, Stacy. And we'll have the resume attached, Councilperson Solomon. Okay. Item 10.10, Resolution 21-014 is a resolution appointing Scott W. Carbone as a member of the Jersey City Insurance Fund Commission.
May I ask, the members of the Insurance Fund Commission, these are uncompensated positions, correct?
Correct, Councilman. These are uncompensated. And this one, Mr. Carbone will be replacing the exiting Brian Platt.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 10.11, Resolution 21-15 is a resolution authorizing a change fund for use by the Department of Recreation Persian Field Pool and designating Rosemary Nunez as the custodian. Item 10.12, Resolution 21-016 is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a grant award of the Hudson County Open Space Trust Fund for the Gateway Park Complex Improvement Project.
Could I ask on 10.12? So we've had a number of different funding sources for Gateway Park. Could I just get an accounting of that for the last 3 years, of any funds awarded or expended, and for the past 3 years and going forward?
Yeah, absolutely, Councilman. Actually, architecture does a good job at keeping costs specific to these projects, so I'll make sure that we get you the full information on that.
Okay, item 10.13, Resolution 21-017, resolution ratifying the emergency contract award to Doll Tile Distribution, Inc. to purchase the various routes needed for tiling at City Hall basement for the Department of Finance Division of Management and Budget. Item 10.
How does this, I'm sorry, let me just ask on this. So we've allocated a number of contracts for the basement as emergency contracts on kind of the basis of the idea that that for social distancing and so forth, that these improvements are needed. Is that the same basis here for this for tiles?
Correct, Councilman. So the existing walls that were in the basement were using a waterproof, basically plastic, if you will, that was actually growing mold underneath it. So the permanent tiles will replace that, and then if there's any issues with flooding moving forward, the tiles are protected.
Okay, but the basis here is because it's COVID. I mean, in terms of using an emergency contract, and you're using COVID funding, correct?
Correct. It's the project in which, it's to allow us to extend 50 workspaces downstairs and allow offices to permanently be distanced.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Anyone else? Item 10.14, Resolution 21-018 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to execute subgrantee agreements with Puerto Ricanos at Adonis. My Spanish is not that good, so for a community organization, United Way of Hudson County, Women Rising, and York Street Project, and administering the city's COVID-19 CARES Act funds for the Community Development Block Grant Program for the City of Jersey City COVID-19 Hardship Assistance Program under the program years April 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2021.
I have a question.
Yep, I'm here.
So all of the money, the 4.6 million is for CDBG, right? And then we're saying we're giving 2 million of that to these organizations. So what are we doing? Well, I guess 6 million. We're saying we have in general over 6 million, 6.6. And we're giving 2 million to the organization. So what are we doing with the other 4.6?
So if you can recall, hi, this is Carmen, the budget presentation that I had proposed met with you guys about a month and a half or so ago. As I said, the CARES Act funding is rolling. The deadline for spending is through 2022. And so part of what was proposed, I think overall, the division received $13 million between CDBG, ESG, HOPWA, and CSBG. And so of the CDBG portion, we are proposing right now to set forth $2 million of the Community Development Block Grant budget, CARES budget, dedicated to rent relief. So some of the things that we had talked about, like the legal fund or other programs, we're not there yet. This is actually, the HOPWA grant came last month, which was a smaller allocation, and we needed to distribute for TIBRA. And then this is now the first piece of many other moving pieces with this grant allocation.
Any more questions?
Yeah, this is Councilman Solomon. Thank you, Director. Two quick questions. I guess the first question is, does this ordinance, or sorry, this resolution, does it set the eligibility requirements for the program? And if so, what are they? And if not, how are they being set?
So eligibility requirements, right? It is set forth by CDBG, right? So we're working with 80% of AMI for the households. You have to be a Jersey City resident. You have to, there's a whole list of criteria that we do have in there in regards to that. And you guys will get the FAQs and the flyer that sets the income eligibility at this point. But understanding that it is restricted to a rental assistance program under CDBG, specifically for CARES, those that are impacted by CARES. COVID, sorry, not CARES.
Sure. And is that specified sort of how to, how people are, defining impacted by COVID?
Does it say that again? You're muffled.
Sorry, what I'm trying to say is, how do people prove that they've been negatively impacted by COVID? Do we have a definition for that?
So yeah, through income, right? So one of the questions in our application, people are going to answer that question in our application as it relates to, were you impacted through COVID? Was it through job? You do not have to have had caught COVID in order to qualify. It's really demonstrating the loss of income and other criteria as it relates to the impact due to the pandemic.
Got it. Okay. And how is the lottery administered? So how does, or if it is even a lottery, so how it is a lottery, so how's it going to be administered, I guess?
So we did go back and forth, through this planning process about fairness and how to do this. We know that $2.5 million is not going to meet the unmet need, that we have in the city. So the Division of Community Development will be doing the lottery on behalf of, for the nonprofits. So our nonprofits were engaged to provide case management and different services to help us shepherd that. But the application was created through my division to kind of sort of have a uniform process for the nonprofits to do. And then as the applications come in and as it gets assigned out to the nonprofits, we will be administering the lottery. So.
Got it. That's helpful. And is, one thing that I would be interested in adding, and it sounds like you guys have defined the program, but I think it's important, would be a preference for anyone who has received no aid to this point. And, that group I think is small because the last CARES Act in December made it much smaller. But there are groups of residents of Jersey City who have not been made eligible for any type of CARES support. So received nothing to date, no 1,200 stimulus, no 600 stimulus. I think it, might be in the city's interest to make sure that they're able to get it. My understanding is those groups include people who are undocumented as well as people who are formerly incarcerated. I didn't read the technical details of the second CARES, but I know it made the group smaller. I don't know if the council agrees with that, but it is an issue I'd like to raise if we can look at having a preference for those individuals who have been left out of all the aid to date.
If people want to get more information on this, can they call you at what number?
Yep. So they can call the Division of Community Development. So we've partnered with the RRC. In regards to if people are calling in, they should call the RRC. We have an internal form that is being filled out by the RRC and the community development staff. I will be sharing tomorrow the flyer, the internal form, FAQs to you guys. We're just going back between the EDC and my office, and there will be a website. Innovation is helping us put that together. So you guys will all be equipped to share information and resources.
When they call the RRC, what do they say? When they call the RRC, what do they ask? What do they say exactly?
So when they call the RRC, what we've been getting is, I'm back. Most of the constituents are saying that I need assistance. I want more information on the CARES Act. The funding, the RRC is signing them up, getting their information, getting how much back rent they owe, their name, address, and email and phone number, so that we can share the information once we go live next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Carmen,
yes.
One of the questions that I've received is the program going to be set up similar to like most of the other rental assistance programs, like Section 8, with the check going to the property owner, or are the checks going to the applicant?
It has to go to the landlord, property manager, or service provider of the building.
Okay.
Director, you able to get the answer to my question on the preferences before Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I took a note.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more? Anyone else?
I have a question. So, did you say you took note of the question, or you're going to answer that, or what's the?
In regards to his preference, I took a note in regards to answering it before Wednesday, in regards to that eligibility be based off of no aid or no other assistance in qualifying that. I need to look into that.
Okay, so I have to apologize because I stepped away for a minute and I came back, but the $1,500 is per household and it's a one-time fee, like not like $1,500 per month, correct?
Yeah, it's a one-time assistance, $1,500.
And maximum total $1,500, that's it, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's per household, so like if there's multiple adults within the household?
It's it's per household, per leaseholder, yes.
And so if they're going to multiple, like if we have 4 nonprofit partners who are working with us in order to avoid like duplication and like potential multiple members of a household applying, what sort of measures are being taken to ensure that sort of doesn't happen? So
with like many of our rental assistance programs, we have to take the lease, we have to take the address, we are verifying that information, we're verifying with our county partners and our state partners who have already administered this program. So we are partnering and doing the compliance piece. I mean, the big thing about these federal funds is duplication of benefits, and that's going to be tricky, right? That's going to be tricky, and duplication of benefits isn't something that never was part of our programs. It was always part of our programs. It's just that the assistance is so large that the federal government has come down saying that, that it just can't make sure that we're not missing this step. And so when it comes to households, we're verifying the address. We're looking at leaseholders, making sure that the leaseholder and the information is current, so that it does go to that one person per household, similar to our relocation program that we run in the division. That compliance piece doesn't go away from our programs.
Are they going to be applying on one general website just to, help stop any duplication, like they would go to one organization.
Yep.
And in this application, they could say, confirm if they've received any funding before, and if so, what was it? And then they could, if they haven't received any funding, they can affirm they haven't received any assistance, to Councilman Solomon's point.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
One more quick question. If
Yep.
they are currently enrolled in a rental assistance program such as Section 8, are they eligible for this program?
No, I mean, currently because of the federal sources between CDBG, like HUD and the Housing Authority, it cannot. But Vivian's on the line, and the mayor's fund right through EDC, that we can speak to that, because we've gone back and forth with the planning and where community development funds come in and where the mayor's fund will come in. And Viv, I know you're on the line, so if you want to talk about a little bit about that piece.
Sure, absolutely. We've been partnering with the Division of Community Development on the design of this to provide funds from the mayor's fund. You know, the question of other federally assisted households is something that we would like to be able to support philanthropically, but we have to make sure that it's not going to be considered income or duplication of funds. I know that there's quite a big debate right now with the new stimulus dollars about whether or not Section 8 or other federally assisted households will be eligible. So we still need a little bit more research to confirm that. But if that were the case, we would only be able to provide that support through the philanthropically raised mayor's fund. So we will be providing $125,000 each to those 4 organizations, and then $75,000 to Welcome Home and Church World Service, which will be dedicated to immigrants who would not be eligible under the federal program. There are a lot of compliance issues that are a little bit complicated in this, and this is why we've worked closely with DCD so that the philanthropic money can cover gaps that are not permissible but appropriate in the broader rental assistance program.
Anyone else? No. Okay, thank you.
Joyce,
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
just say, I am also speaking on item 10.39, which is for the CSBG resolution. The state just asked us to resubmit the resolution. They weren't in agreement with the language, and so it's just modifying those 2 other resolutions. No awards are being made at this point, but I just wanted to clarify that for item 3.9, and thank you to both Johns for being able to get this on.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Carmen.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, next item 10.15, Resolution 21-019, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Activia Corporation for the maintenance and support of the Activia lead data wall system under the GSA contract for the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, funded through the fiscal year 18 Urban Renewal Urban Area Security Initiative Grant.
Sean, can they put them up on the screen?
Sure. Just bear with us a sec.
All right.
Is there someone here to explain this resolution?
Councilman, Director Keir said that he'd be circulating a memo. I didn't receive it yet, but I'll make sure it's distributed as soon as we get it.
Okay, I'm just pulling up the resolution as we speak. Okay, yeah, because there's not really, my recollection was it doesn't really explain what this system does, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I'll definitely make sure he sends something to the council tonight or tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
So my understanding is that it protects the city's video management system. Is this like from our cameras? What do you call them? CCTV. What was that?
He should have been here. The BA.
I'll make sure we have an answer on that. I don't want to speak for him and then it's inaccurate information. I want to make sure we have the right talking point. But yes, Councilman, from my understanding, it's the CCTV. It's basically the security wall that encrypts the information. But I'll make sure that we're verified on that.
Also, body cameras, is that part of this, or?
I believe that would be directly through the public safety budget, not the emergency management, Homeland Security. But I'll double check.
And so then my other question about this then is, if it's protecting our data here and so forth, like, do we have other systems in place that are being managed by IT that are protecting our data systems and or anything else that are out there? And does the IT want to weigh in on this in terms of like the effectiveness of this technology to actually protect our systems, our data, given that we've had a breach at MUA and.
Yeah, Councilman, from my understanding, the way it works is that the OEM and public safety servers and digital information is all stored separately from the city side, as well as their data, their email servers. Everything is on a separate provider from the city, so there's no commingling of city administration or officials' information and the public safety side of things.
That's fine, but my question is more about, does our IT folks and experts think that this is the most effective tools and software? I know that public safety has weighed in on this, and certainly not to disrespect or disregard our communications folks are there, but with regard to this, I mean, in terms of how strong the security is and valuable, how strong it is at protecting our data, are we consolidating some of that assessment in terms of trying to figure that out for our various? I know they're kept in separate ways to save the data and so forth and protect it, but is there someone universally trying to ensure that our systems are protected?
I'm not sure if Bernadette's live, but if she's not, I'll make sure we get an opinion on it.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Item 10.16, Resolution 21-020, a resolution ratifying the emergency contract award to Gold Type Business Machines, Inc. for the purchase and delivery of personal protection equipment due to the coronavirus for the Department of Public Safety, Office of Emergency Management, Homeland Security. Item 10.17, Resolution 21-021, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Lorman Supply Company for self-contaminated breathing apparatus parts and supplies under state contract for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. Item 10.18, Resolution 21-022. It's a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Lorman Supply Company for the purchase and delivery of ammunition under state contract for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. Item 10.19, Resolution 21-023, a resolution ratifying the award of a contract to RWJ Health Network for basic emergency medical technician training for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire.
Can I go back for a second, Councilman, just to the ammunition question?
Go ahead.
Is this a standard ammunition?
Yes, Councilman, this is the annual contract that we have with the state provider for re-qualification for the law enforcement agents.
It's just standard ammunition, right?
Standard, correct, yeah. Mostly used at the range for requalification.
Understood. All right, my apologies. That's all I have.
Item 10.20, Resolution 21-024. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City's Department of Recreation Youth Development to apply for and accept the USA Swimming Foundation's Learn to Swim grant. Item 10.21, Resolution 21-025 is a resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by Brown and Brown Metro LLC for providing the City of Jersey City with insurance consulting services for the Department of Human Resources Employee Benefits.
Just a question on both this one and the next one. There are two claims. The business administrator, can you explain why these are filed as claims and what happened there?
Sure. For the Brown & Brown Metro LLC, just for clarification, no relation to me. This was the lapse between the former contract and the current contract, that they did provide services in the interim, and this is why it warranted a claim submission. I'm not sure about 10.22. I'm pretty sure it might have been the same thing. It was two lapsing contracts that that in between the expiration of the former and then the renewal of the new caused this claim to occur, because we didn't want to avoid a stoppage of services that were being provided.
But the question is, so there was a lapse in coverage. The question is, why is there a lapse in coverage? Like, why was there a lapse in the contract?
I don't have the direct dialogue on that, Councilman. I'll definitely reach out to HR and ask them for clarification. I did ask the HR director to be here tonight, but she did have a medical emergency.
Okay, I hope she's okay. All right, I have no further questions.
Okay, 1022 is already touched on. Item 10.23, Resolution 21-027 is a resolution ratifying the emergency contract award to Accusure LLC for insurance brokerage services for the provision of insurance brokerage and consulting services for the City of Jersey City Department of Human Resources Division of Health Benefits. Item 10.24, Resolution 21-028 is a resolution to award and ratify a contract to In Her Shoes to conduct a diversity and inclusion training for the planning division. Excuse me. Item 10.25, Resolution 21-029 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the use of competitive contracting to award the contract for consulting services needed in connection with the development of an alternative transportation modes assessment. Item 10.26, Resolution 21-030 is a resolution ratifying awarding an emergency contract to Business Furniture, Inc. for the purchase, delivery, and installation of various office furniture for the City Hall basement project for the Department of Public Works.
I'm sorry, I just want to go back, if I may, to the previous one, 10.25. This assessment, this is just competitive contracting, and then, all right, actually, let me just take a look. My question is how is planning going to address the needs of diverse communities in the needs and feasibility studies of this this contract, this assessment?
I can't hear you.
So in going out for competitive contracting, is there an intention to ensure that how are you in awarding this contract ensuring that there's that the diverse needs of the community are being addressed and being able to be addressed in some sort of assessment? I'm assuming there's some sort of study here and there's a outreach to community. That's my assumption with this particular, when this contract is ultimately bid out, that's part of the contract. I guess that's an assumption on my part. If that's correct, then in terms of doing that outreach, and I say this, and I don't want this to come across in any way as seeking to be overly critical in this regard, but in terms of the master plan but also our city with regard to the census and so forth, like how do we do outreach to our diverse communities? We haven't done a great job of hitting and reaching out to our community or getting participation. Let me just say that directly in any sort of surveys and assessment and so forth. And so how will we do that with this and ensure that in the bidding process that whoever is consulting on this ultimately is going to be able to address that?
So this is much more of an employee training than anything else. The diversity and inclusion is becoming a new requirement and training piece of part of the planners training and certification. And I reached out to our diversity and inclusion office. I also sent, a couple of just requests from other diversity and inclusion training consultants throughout New Jersey. This is an informal bid. It's not a formal bid because of how much it is. It's low. And the person who we selected, or the company who we selected, is somebody who's trained in these things. So this is really much more of an employee training than anything else necessarily. I mean, that's really it. This right now at the time, the city does not require diversity and inclusion training for all of its employees. So this is just specific to the planning division.
Okay.
Am I talking about the same
Any more
thing? I'm sorry, I thought I was talking about the alternative transportation.
Right.
No, I don't. I thought you said the planning. I don't have an alternative transportation, do I?
Was that not yours? I thought it was yours. My apologies.
I don't think I have any resolution on for alternative transportation. It's been a long day, but it could be.
It says Elias Guzman of planning is on the fact sheet.
Oh, we can, please email me about that separately. That's actually an NJTPA grant.
Right.
And those questions are best answered with Eli Guzman and Barka Patel.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they were asked to be here, probably not because it's at planning, but we will get you all the answers that you need, please.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. Item 10.27, resolution 21-031 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Meltwater News US Inc. for the purchase of software that analyzes all media and news outreach data for the Department of Administration Division of Communications.
Can the administration explain what this does and why they want to purchase it?
Sure, Councilman. So this was some information that we received through actually, I believe, neighboring municipalities also utilize. I'm not sure if it's this particular entity or just the same type of product, but essentially what it does is it's a tool that we could use for our outreach to the community, and that it's kind of like built on algorithms that would allow you to target information that would be hyper local for people that would be aware of, whether it be social media or public notices that we put out. It works in a way that geolocates and takes a look at everything for us to utilize it on a hyper local level to reach more residents on different platforms. So this would be mostly used for when we have public notices, public bids, all that type of stuff. It'll help us more than just the news. It'll help local vendors get more involved in contracts. There's several different resources we could utilize this for, and it's all geolocated. So John Metro would add a location on his social media, but is very interested in local Jersey City content, would then be allowed to be accessed. That he sees that Jersey City is going to have a public hearing on bike lanes or something like that on his feed. So it's that type of material. And once we get it up and running, I'd be happy to share anything we have as far as how it was able to expand local reach and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think there's a clear purpose for this, and I think it could be a very good thing. I just want to make sure it's used for good, if that makes sense.
I definitely understand your concern, Councilman, and yes, we're utilizing it in a very transparent way.
Yeah, so I think maybe we can talk a little bit more, but understand sort of what the data and reporting out will be, and maybe there's just a simple list of every time it's used and how that informs us, because I can clearly be, I think, a good tool to reach the public. but we
Yeah,
just,
I'll work together with you, Councilman, to figure out some kind of
Yeah.
reporting.
that works on my end. Thank you.
Yep.
So I just need more clarification. So I don't understand, how does this work and how is it being employed?
So it's a software that would utilize geolocation information for an ability to connect with residents locally on local issues. So not everybody has their personal information on their social medias or whichever varying internet device that they're using. So what this does is that, though, say myself as an example, does not have Jersey City on their location for their profiles, but I like.
I'm sorry, if I could just interrupt you, because you're using yourself as an example, and if you could use somebody else's example, because you're the city, right? So like, I'm getting confused between, are you as yourself using it to reach people, or are you using it, the example, as you, the recipient of the information?
So the only connectivity that would be using this is official City of Jersey City profiles, and essentially that if any individual, regardless of name, has been, viewing, liking, retweeting local issues, but we don't have their geolocation specified as Jersey City, this would allow us to provide more information to them on a digital basis.
Can you give me a tangible example how this, like, just make something up?
Maybe maybe a friend of mine has an account that it doesn't say what their location is, but they're living in Jersey City and they're liking a bunch of content that has to do with Bikes JC and road safety and stuff like that, that they would then be able to access more information. This would provide them more information about, did you know that, if we have a tweet out there that, did you know we're having a public hearing on bike safety this week? That would reach them specifically, where if they're not following a Jersey City account, or if they don't have access to a Jersey City account, they wouldn't have otherwise gotten that information.
So I'm going to be more direct. It sounds to me that on this, so yes, it can be used for good. It can be used for absolute corruption, right? So which is that, so for example, if you're working off of Mayor Phillips' Twitter account, is that the official city Twitter account, and you're monitoring who's liking and where they're geolocating and so forth around that, which it sounds like that's what's possible to do here. That would be, an inappropriate use of that technology, right? If you're using it for the City of Jersey City official Twitter account, in that regard, and that data stays, that geolocation data is utilized strictly within the city and maintained securely and so forth, then that's possibly potentially used in good if it's done in that way. But if it can be transferred over for electoral purposes, then yeah, I've got a real problem with that. That's like, and it's not, there are folks who would go out and say that some data has been compromised potentially at the city with regard to folks who call in and maybe use city services and so forth and find themselves on kind of various listservs and things of that nature that are going on. So my question is, it's obviously coming up for a vote on Wednesday. Clearly understand like what the implications are and how we're going to secure data to ensure that there's not an abuse of this technology and this data for personal political purposes.
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a political motive here. I think that it's solely for the City of Jersey City official Twitter accounts or Facebooks, or the Mayor Phillips Twitter is not it's not recognized as an official account. He's known as an official, a public official rather, but it's not what you would consider the public City of Jersey City official news feed. So what this basically does is utilizes our existing accounts, which you can argue that even having the existing accounts, you would know who likes or doesn't like, or what the media is around that, and that hasn't been compromised. So this would just be a continuation of what's already in place.
So I would like to see some safeguards imposed within a contract like that to ensure that if we're going to authorize a contract that there are certain safeguards and protections to ensure that people's privacy is protected, but and frankly speaking, for selfish reasons, to ensure that that it's not being used for political purposes, for obvious personal reasons that I have for my own self.
That's fair.
Matters as well.
Okay.
That's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, that's fair, Councilman. I'll work with the law department on that.
Okay, Sean.
Okay, item 10.28, resolution 21-032 is a resolution ratifying the emergency contract award to Astralink LLC for the purchase and support service of multimedia network with cloud backup and ability for live streaming vital press conference and location news events due to coronavirus for the Department of Administration Office of Communications. Item 10.29, resolution 21-033 is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a grant award from the state of New Jersey Office of Local Public Health for the Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity Program. Item 10.30, resolution 21-034 is a resolution authorizing contracts with various vendors for delivery of substance abuse prevention and education programs for the Department of Health and Human Services through the Municipal Drug Alliance Program. Item 10.31, resolution 21-035, a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services to accept grant funds from the Hudson County Department of Health and Human Services for the peer grouping meal programs and to execute a grant agreement. Item 10.32, resolution 21-036, a resolution authorizing the award of competitively bid contract to Sims Municipal Recycling of New York LLC for the disposition and marketing of commingled recyclable materials.
I have some questions on this. To John or to whoever's here to speak on this. Is this the same contract where it was once upon a time, it was a free service, like essentially they were able to make revenue off of this, and then now we've, over the past couple of years, maybe past 2 years or so, we've had to pay for this service, or maybe less than 2 years. That's the first question. The second question is, assuming we've been paying for this, and I don't know how long we've been paying for this contract, can you give us the amount that we've paid on this contract over that period of time, whether it's in the past 5 years, 3 years, or 2 years, or whatever the case might be?
Sure, I could definitely give you the spend down. As for the recycling, I know Melissa Kay is a little more versed on the cost of recycling and where that market's been. I'm not sure if she's still on. She was on prior.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Melissa, if you could just speak a little bit more on kind of where commingled costs have been and where they've gone.
Well, it's incredible. The market moves up and down, as you know, and every year since China banned the import of recycling, our costs have been going up. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but the councilman is absolutely correct in noting that our recycling costs have risen even triple, I think, in the past 3 years since China's changed their policy on importing. We could get those numbers pretty quick. I don't have them in front of me, though.
Sure.
Okay.
And is this encompassed with the solid waste service fee, or how is this going to be? Is there going to be any connection to the MUA, should I say, with this?
No, Councilman. This is a standalone.
So this is the administration's plan to keep this here within the administration and not move this out.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I ask what recyclables are going to be accepted under this contract?
Yeah. So this contract does continue to keep our paper as the corrugated cardboard and the regular paper that we've been including and also the commingle are the 1, the 2, and the 5s.
So we are adding 5s to this.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. And is it, when you say commingled, are we going to sort of switch to a process where paper and plastics get dumped together, or are we still separating the paper and plastics?
The latter. Jersey City will continue to follow the dual stream, separating the paper from the commingle. It seems like that's the national trend at this point as well. Got it. Okay. And did we price out, or did we look in the RFPs for what it would look like to recycle the other plastics, the 3, 4, 6, and 7? We did keep it open, but the local market is really tying our hands in accepting some of those additional items. Okay. And was this the only bidder, Sims, or was there others? I wasn't a part of the review committee, so I don't feel comfortable speaking on that.
I'll get you an answer on that, Councilman.
Got it. Okay. Okay. And if you are able to, I guess, sort of also look into if we did look at the pricing for 3s, 4s, 6, and 7s. Yes. And I guess also, well, I don't know from a procurement standpoint about amendments, but like, would it be possible to in the future date amend if the pricing on those is more reasonable, or even go out for bid a second time to just see what the pricing would look like on the those recyclables?
Yep, I definitely will, Councilman.
Great, thank you.
So regional's no longer picking up the recycling? Or was regional picking up the recycling and basically we're trying to switch over? Or is that what's happening?
Councilman, this is where the recycling end up, the material, where the material.
Oh, okay, so this is. Right.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we had to bid for that too.
This is the disposal aspect of it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman, I'd have been doing a jig here if it had been the other thing.
I think we'd all be doing a happy dance if that were the case, yeah. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
It's not British Regional Industries yet.
Sorry.
6 bids coming soon. I actually don't know that. It was just an idea. That seems close.
Item 10.33, Resolution 21-037, resolution authorizing an amendment to an agreement with LilyPad EV LLC for the provision, installation, and maintenance for electric vehicle charging stations at various locations throughout Jersey City. Item 10.34, Resolution 21-038 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of a contract with Para Plus Translations, Inc. for providing interpreters for the municipal court.
Could I get spend down on this for the past 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely, Councilman. Just to keep in mind, of course, as a note, that the courts were shut down for a brief period of time last year due to COVID. So the variance might be a little less in 2020, but I'll definitely give you that information. Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Item 10.35, Resolution 21-039 is a resolution reappointing Joyce E. Waterman as a member of the Jersey City Planning Board. Item 10.36, Resolution 21-040, resolution authorizing emergency temporary appropriation. Item 10.37, Resolution 21-041 is a resolution establishing petty cash funds for various departments and divisions for calendar year 2021. Item 10.38, Resolution 21-042 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing a refund to 70 Columbus Urban Renewal LLC for the overpayment of pilot payments in the years 2017 and 2018. Item 1039 was touched on earlier. Item 10.40, Resolution 21-044 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of Joseph Alessi versus the City of Jersey City. Item 10.41.
Clerk, can we request a closed session to discuss the settlement? It's a large fee, and then there's other, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are parties in that case that we also have resolutions for their professional service agreements on the agenda.
So in order to hold a closed session, you would have to adopt a resolution in order to do that. And we would then have to come out of the meeting and do a closed session and come back in. I don't know if we've ever done that before, doing
Sorry.
a virtual.
Clerk, what I meant was we've done in the past is adding the resolution at this meeting for the closed meeting, and then sorry, that session, just a closed meeting, and then bumping these resolutions to the next council meeting so we can have a closed meeting before we vote on them. That's what I was referencing. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I misinterpreted that, your request.
Okay.
I would defer to the council president on that question. I mean, I think if the council chooses to do a closed session, we're obviously amenable to that, and we will review that to you. Just to clarify the point, however, that Councilman Solomon raised, the settlement resolution that we just got to on the agenda, and then the professional services agreements that follow, they involve some similar parties, but it is separate litigation. So, you know, it's kind of I would say it's a broader topic. However, they are separate suits and they are separate matters that are just, I would say, coincidentally appearing on the same agenda.
Pete, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Let me see what it is. Okay.
All right. Very good.
Okay, item 10.41, resolution 21-045 is a resolution amending the professional service agreement with McCusker and Selmy Rosen Corvelli, PC, to represent the city of Jersey City in various equal employment opportunity independent investigations. Item 10.42, resolution 21-046 is a resolution renewing professional service agreement with the law firm of Chasen, Leporello, Mallon, and Capuzzo, PC, to represent Sergeant Rosie Barzola in the matter of Donner and Mitchell Glacier versus the city of Jersey City. Item 10.43, resolution 21-047 is a resolution ratifying the award of professional service agreement with Hunt, Hamlin, and Ridley to represent Deputy Chief Joseph Connors, Lieutenant Terrence Crowley, and Police Officer John Peters in the matter of Kelly Chesler versus the city of Jersey City. Item 10.44, resolution 21-048, a resolution ratifying the award of a professional service agreement with Brock Elcher, LLC, to represent Director of Public Safety James Shea in the matter of Kelly Chesler versus the city of Jersey City. Item 10.45, resolution 21-049 is a resolution ratifying the award of professional service agreement with Peruzzi, McDermott, Mastro, and Murphy, PC, to represent Police Officer Robert Sorsward in the matter of Kelly Chesler versus the city of Jersey City. Item 10.46, resolution 21-050 is a resolution ratifying the emergency contract with Bespoke Health LLC to manage the COVID-19 vaccination effort for Jersey City residents as part of the city's ongoing response to the coronavirus epidemic. Sorry.
Questions on that? So what's the timetable here with regard to actually getting a pod up for Jersey City? And are we in control of our own pods? I don't understand the process. Is the state?
So we're waiting for you to approve the contract so that I can actually get that moving, because I don't want to put us out and not have that. We've been setting up the Bethune Center. Phase 1A is moving very slow. In fact, our hospitals have indicated having extra vaccines and have asked for our support because they haven't gotten the response that they had hoped for internally from their staff. So right now we're in phase 1A. I'm gonna just share with you. This will go live tomorrow morning. Can you see this? Everyone? Anyone?
It's there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now we're in COVID-19 vaccines as part of phase 1A. That is healthcare workers in the beginning of this process. As of December 21st, only hospitals received vaccines. From there, links agencies, our links agency is Hudson County Regional Health Commission. They too then received vaccines. So vaccines open to phase 1A in Jersey City and Hudson County for healthcare workers on December 21st. At that time, they were internal, what we call closed points of distribution. So closed pods exist throughout Jersey City at this time, at Christ Hospital, at North Hudson Health Action, at Alliance, at Metropolitan Health, and JCMC. So we have 5 locations right now. They're closed pods, only distributing to healthcare workers. On Thursday, when the governor added police and fire to phase 1A, so there's some confusion. They didn't open phase 1B. They took police and fire, uniformed, sworn police and fire, not civilians, out of phase 1B and added them to phase 1A. So starting Wednesday morning, we'll begin vaccines for police and fire as a part of our soft opening of the Bethune Center. We are coordinating with all healthcare workers to get them into appointments throughout the city to make sure that none of our 5 closed pods are wasting any vaccines. So what happens is each vaccine, as you see here, contains 10 inoculations, and after 6 hours, it needs to be destroyed. So we need to make sure that when Metropolitan Health opens the new vial, that they have 10 clients ready to go. And so this has been a problem throughout the country. One, because the miseducation around vaccines. 2, not understanding who's getting what vaccine. So Jersey City Medical Center got Pfizer, Christ Hospital got Moderna. So Jersey City will be receiving the Moderna vaccine. So some general information about the vaccine is also attached. And so there's a little bit of a review slide. We're working now on the translations for this information because the state has not provided anything other than Spanish, and the registration for NJISS, which is the state system, is only in English and Spanish. So we've created our own registration form for phase 1A. You need to answer these questions. Only if you answer all these questions would you be eligible for phase 1A vaccines. This is important to us because we can't get it in the languages necessary. Then we have some general information about our vaccines, some additional resources and ways for people to contact us. Because the phase of the phase out is sort of confusing to most, we're not really sharing publicly because most of the public are not eligible for vaccines right now. There's over 1 million people that are pre-registered with the state, and we don't have access to the state system. So until phase B opens, we won't get the names of anyone that's been pre-registered. So all of you that have gone and pre-registered, like, I don't know that you've done that because the state hasn't informed me. And so when your phase opens, the state will send me your information saying this group has pre-registered, and then we can go and ask them to make an appointment. So appointments are really important. However, at all of our sites, we will have the ability for walk-ins, again, to assure that if someone misses an appointment and we've accounted for them, to make that, by 10 by 10 vaccines, will allow that. But next week, we will probably have public appointments available. However, there are appointments available throughout the city right now for any healthcare worker.
All right, Stacy, you mentioned the Bethune Center. How about the northern part of the city? And how about seniors?
Yeah, so as soon as we have 6 locations that we are going to open the pods, but they're going to be as we get vaccines. So this week we requested 1,000 vaccines from the state. They sent us 500 this morning. They let us know Friday at 2 p.m. we were going to get 500 either Monday or Tuesday, and we're unable to inform us. I was informed by Director Kears when they arrived at OEM because they didn't send us a tracking information. So we're up in this like kind of never-ending situation. We've requested 1,000 vaccines for next week. What happens is if you do not use 60% of your vaccines, you're skipped for the next week of delivery. So we don't want that to happen to us. Currently, we've been monitoring the Walgreens CVS relationship with our long-term care facilities. And we have pretty mixed vaccine uptick at our facilities. And so we are hoping to see more of that. What we're hearing is that the Walgreens lobbyist is working with the state to try and increase their role to get to the senior housing facilities, not just long-term care. But right now, phase 1A is long-term care facilities, people living in nursing homes, both staff and residents. Then healthcare workers, all kinds of healthcare workers, whether volunteer healthcare workers, people working at testing sites. So CERT volunteers would certainly qualify. Social workers, we've worked with Hudson CMO to get all of our, credible messengers and such that are healthcare workers. Then on Thursday, the governor opened up for police and fire. Then we got phone calls from all the federally qualified health centers that said, hey, can we do your police and fire because we have extra vaccines that we haven't been able to use. And we just wanted to do it in an orderly fashion. We have 4 days of fire based on their 4-group method of when they leave site at 8 a.m. in the morning. And we worked with police to move that forward. So to you, Councilman Bogiano, we have 2 sites in the Heights right now, both the Alliance and Christ Hospital that are open to healthcare workers. So right now we're not open to the general public. We're only open to healthcare workers, but there are 2 sites in the Heights, literally across the street from each other. In addition to that, we went to visit the Connors Center, and due to the fact that we would have to use the 3rd floor, it's just not accommodating enough for the number of people that we would need to put up and down the elevator during COVID. So we're looking at using Pershing Field, and we've made site visits to PS 26, Franklin Williams School. We're going to open Ferris High School. We're working with the Gallo Center, and we are still forever having hope that our governor will allow us to use the Armory. So at every level of request to the Armory has been shut down. We had hoped that was because they would offer to do a mega site there. It's just the most logical place in our community, especially if we're one of the top 4 counties with COVID statistics. And so we've been asking about the Armory sort of at every level of government. We've called in every state legislature, supporter of ours, our assembly people, and we are continuing to be told no. So that was an ideal site because we can move both testing indoors for the rest of the season and vaccines in that location. So we're pretty disappointed there, but we are continuing to. We also have mobile site. So we have one mobile site that we can pop up. We're believing that once we go to the public level of, because that probably won't happen until April, but we have belief that the government will allow us to move along a little bit faster. We have a mobile trailer similar to how we're doing testing at Marin, and we'll put that in the location where we have most need.
Any questions?
Just
Yeah.
2 questions. When this all starts ramping up, can we put the vaccination, basically the vaccination numbers on Tableau, or is it just to inform the public and show our progress?
We can. I have to figure out, because it all goes to the state. So like what's been taking a long time is like there's all these state new systems that have to like connect with each other. I just have to figure out how to pull that data out. Again, I only have my data because the HIPAA purposes. I don't have the data of private hospitals. The data we have right now is that, it's the hospitals are doing really well. Our long-term facilities are not doing as well.
And
Someone
just a
else?
silly question.
Yeah, I have a question.
One more. It's
Wait, he has one more. He has one more question. Go
Sorry.
ahead, Councilman DeLay.
We're using the Moderna vaccine, right? I
Yes,
assume.
we have been the recipients of Moderna.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Councilman Robinson.
Hi, Director. The storage, the Moderna, does that need to be kept cold? Do we have proper
Yes, so we have data loggers. That's what we did most of this morning. We had to secure the vaccine delivery at Office of Emergency Management. And we have special fridges that needed to be purchased. That was delayed because of the prior pod request that we were going to pay for out of the CARES Act. Was not on the council agenda in December. So we moved one of our vaccine fridges over to the Office of Emergency Management.
How are we transporting it to the Bethune Center and I guess everywhere else?
Yeah, we have these special vaccine coolers that are data logged and cold chain storage.
And the last one, how would one pre-register for the state, and is there an option for constituents to pre-register for this with the city?
So with the state, you can pre-register now. There's the website covid19.nj.gov, I think it is, or NG. I'll send it to you. So when you register, it kind of kicks back and tells you what phase you are. So I think out of everyone here, the only person that would possibly be phase 1A would be Councilman Rivera because of his medical license. And it would come back to you if you were in this phase that is open, they would open up the listing of who has appointments available. I will tell you, my mom is phase 1A, and she's having difficulty finding vaccine. So the systems are not connected as they should be. So on our website, which I just showed you, you can, I can go back and you can, we're going to have a space right on our website where you can sign up locally directly. So if you, let me go slower. So you can log in right here, and we are only eligible to vaccinate right now if you're a healthcare worker. So that's the first question. The second is, have you not previously had any allergic reaction to any, things? If you're not currently ill, have you not received other vaccines? Have you not previously received a COVID vaccine other than Moderna? And if you've previously received Moderna, it's been at least 28 days. So if you click yes to all of these, first one being you're a healthcare worker. If you tell us you're a healthcare worker, we'll be able to set up an appointment right online. Right now, the appointments will be at the Bethune Center until we get access to more vaccines. So we can't open up 6 sites if we're only getting 1,000 vaccines. When we start getting like 2,000 or 3,000 vaccines a week, will be when we're able to open up more sites. So our goal is by phase 1B, we would have open either Gallo Center and Ferris High School, and then focus on 1B, which is essential workers and teachers, construction workers, city employees, state employees that work locally, people that are on the front line. So we'll have more locations open. As we get to 1C, which is 65 and older, and people with immune issues, will have hopefully all 6 locations open by the time the public is able to get vaccinated, which is when we believe there'll be more vaccines made available, because right now the state has only received about 200 something thousand vaccines, and over 1 million people have pre-registered for vaccines.
So I have one final question. How can someone pre-register without a computer?
Well, they can call the health department. So that's something really important. That's why I said, well, we are going to push people to registration. Our sites will have some walk-up ability. And that's something that we think is an issue with the state system. I want to talk a little bit to Councilman Lavaro was talking earlier about outreach. I mean, we at the health department take a pretty strong stand on language accessibility, and we believe that that's something that should be required across the city, and everything shouldn't be just in English and Spanish. We know the populations we have that need multiple other languages, and we also know the trials and tribulations we've had with testing people that don't have smartphones or can't read their emails, and 6 people registered to the same email address, so only one person gets their results. And there's a lot of problems with the use of technology given our digital divide. And we, in the beginning of testing, that's why we did phone calls, and then people complained that no one was answering the phone. We had 20 people answering phone calls. We were making 1,000 appointments a day. And so in order to give those staff back to the divisions to get the city back to work, we've had to put a lot of technology in place, but we do see that being one of the concerns. So at the Bethune Center, every week we're helping people sign in to take saliva tests. We have a team over at the Bethune Center doing an amazing job. We're helping people open up email addresses so that they can then take the saliva test, because you need an email to get that test. And so the same with the Buy Next Now. If you don't have an email address, they won't give you a rapid test. These are problems with technology that we hope to solve by having the ability for people to walk in. We can't just go full walk-in because there's a lot of registration information, but we also are not requiring at our sites any insurance, which is being required at every healthcare worker site and every closed pod. So that is also what we believe has been a deterrent for like home healthcare aides and marginally paid healthcare workers that don't have insurance. So they're not going up to Christ Hospital. They're not going to Metropolitan Health to get their vaccine.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Councilman. Thank you, Director, for the updates. A couple quick questions. On the vendor that we're picking, Bespoke Health, how did we find them and what's their sort of background in this?
Yeah, Bespoke Health is a new company, and it's born out of a team of people that were working with our RT, who currently does our testing. The people that one of the guys had left a while back, the CEO, Derek, and he reached out to us, saying like he had started a new company, had left our RT, and they had worked very quickly and robustly with us. They've moved things around rather quickly to help us get through the bureaucracy. And no one else out there was doing this work. And so we looked around, and now we're starting to get like people emailing us saying, are you looking for a solution for vaccines? We also wanted someone that wasn't, most of the agencies locally are asking us to send them clients, but they want to take insurance. So we wanted someone that we can hire that would manage staff. They actually run an ambulance company, which will actually reduce the cost for us, because nurses right now cost $250 an hour. Nurses that speak the languages we need are not readily available to us. I don't know if you know this, but we lost our nurse practitioner in the middle of COVID. We have not been able to hire nurses. We have 3 nurse openings here at the health department, and the nurses that we have here at the health department are not funded to do vaccine work. They're funded to do other work, that this wasn't of interest to move them into that. And then managing this day to day while also managing testing just directly comes under me, because there's no division that's like necessarily managing this, and like I don't have like any more bandwidth. So when someone came to me and said, I can do this for you, I said, show me what you can do. I think they showed me really nicely when, some of those people were at RRT. And I thought right now we need someone to help us execute at a large scale. And when we were running testing ourselves, managing for like who called out sick, what person came late, was really, really difficult. And so to have someone that's able to do it and is doing this across many states, I think they're in 32 other states over time. And that was sort of like how can they help me in an emergency situation?
Okay.
Thank
Someone
you.
else?
I had a couple more, but I can open for anyone else.
Anyone else have a question concerning the vaccine, the rollout?
If
Okay.
I can't.
Sorry, yes, I do. I'm sorry. I had my mute on. Sorry about that. So you mentioned the multi-language access.
Yeah.
So for registration purposes, when they go online, if they speak a language other than English or Spanish, how do they end up registering if they're multi-language?
I don't know how the state allows them to register, but we will be allowing people to register in multiple languages. So we will add Arabic, Gujarati, Tagalog, and I think Mike's reviewing it other languages with the team right now.
And how will that be executed? And let me just be specific, which is
it's a cognito form, and it's in the language of the.
Okay.
It's in Arabic, it's in Gujarati, it's in Hindi, it's in Tagalog. Okay. So you would click on your language and you can register.
And the online registration input form will be in their language, right? So
that would be the languages that we identify. So as like the top languages in Jersey City, we will create that for Jersey City registration. The state registration form is only in English and Spanish, and it's not acceptable to us in our city.
Understand. I'm asking it specifically because in contrast, we have the master plan, the surveys are available in multiple languages, but they're fillable PDF forms, which adds a different hurdle for those folks as opposed to just entering it online and the form online being the interface being itself some sort of in a different language.
So, you know, I think something from the very beginning, if you ever identified my start with the city, I come from a place of it is so very important, and maybe this is something my staff have brought to the Immigrant Affairs Commission several times, and I will bring it home again tomorrow night when I go to that meeting, is a very clear policy across the city on language proficient information for people so we serve all. That is what we need. We can't, like, we have, like, people call my office asking my immigrant affairs team to translate. That's not our job. We should have a global place with professional translations to respect the clients across our city, and to make sure that it is readable at the level of the national understanding, which is 4th grade education, in simple language with the most effective way we can get that across. We use 2 different programs to make sure we do that here. We have Cognito forms that we can put in any language we need. In addition to Cognito, we've been using SNAP surveys, and we've been using SNAP survey. It's also a PDF form, but it's scannable, and it scans into a database, so we can put this in any language. We have about 20 different languages in WIC, and if we went out and said we wanted to do 20 different surveys, we would just keep the same PDF, but we would change the names, and we scan it back in, and it drops into a database. And then we can easily drop that into SPSS or into Excel, and we can do some data management on our end. That has been something where we believe in from the front end of our human services efforts.
Thank you. Councilman Solomon, you said you had another question?
Yeah, 2 more quick questions. Director, the first one was in the Bespoke Health plan. It looks like they're intending to hire a community outreach manager. And I'm wondering if we know who they intend to hire, and then just sort of more broadly what the community outreach plan is going to be.
Well, the community outreach plan, and we've been talking a lot about that. They have an idea of a master's level public health person that would coordinate with our team. So we have 6 people doing internal education right now. My staff has just gone through police and fire, trying to educate them on the vaccine. Next up will be all city employees, but doing community outreach, and then having point of vaccine education at our testing sites. And then at any community event. So if you're going to get tested, and you're, you know, just like when you come to one of our food events, we want to see how we can serve you more. So if you come to get food, we're like, hey, do you have an issue? Do you want us to send you food? Do you need food stamps? How do we create that comprehensive relationship? So if we see you at a testing site, we're going to give you information for vaccines. We'll see what kind of where you live, if we've done anything with your neighborhood association yet, and just having some guidance to, like, talk off of with our team. We're also doing a video, so we've reached out to key doctors and credible messengers across the city that are already vaccinated to talk about it.
Okay, Councilman Solomon, your other question?
Yeah, last question was, I understand, Director, the vaccine supply at the moment may not allow for this, but in the coming weeks, if there's an increase in vaccine supply, do we have the ability to look at making these sites 24/7 so that people can get vaccinated, you know, and we can get the vaccine out as quickly as possible?
Yeah, we can keep them open or closed. That's how I had the contract written by hour. Right now, our plan is to be open 7 days a week. So basically, we would ebb and flow as we get vaccines. And so our goal is everywhere as much as we can.
Okay. Councilman Navarro?
Yeah, so the $1 million that's being spent for this, it's the page on pricing kind of breaks down, as you said, hourly numbers. But do you have a more detailed kind of how the dollars in total are being spent or estimated to be spent in these areas, or?
I think I gave like the general overview is like there's some monthly management, like those guys that are kind of going out every day, setting up, managing the staff. Then it's the staff that are on site by hour, and then there's education as we need it. So I suspect that like education is sort of on the uptick the first 6 months, and then anything else gets integrated into my team. I also believe that we do like, it'll be like this, and then we'll start doing 1C, phase 2, and then by September, we'll start to see how we integrate that into the city clinic. No, I'm saying like over time. So the goal is 70% of the city, but the point is 70% of the city needs to want to be vaccinated, and some people are hesitant because they want to see how other people react. So the second round of Moderna doesn't start until next week. So we only started getting Moderna on Christmas Eve. And so phase 2, the second shot of Moderna, would be on January 22nd, 21st, 22nd. So that's going to be the process for many people. It's a 28-day gap. And so some people might not come back for their second shot, and that's where community outreach and all of that kind of stuff is going to be really important for us.
Okay. All right, then. If anybody have any more questions for the director, feel free to pick up the phone, because I know she'll have new information by tomorrow.
Oh, yes. Tomorrow it'll
information
change.
changes, so.
It changes every time the governor says it's going to change. So,
one thing, Director, could you just send us the breakdown of the 1A, B, C, D, like who's in it, so we can kind of get that out to the community?
Right.
Yeah.
So this way they'll know how it's coming. Those who are interested.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
Okay. With that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn at
Oh, no.
6:03?
Council President.
Yeah.
May I speak to the resolution I spoke to you about?
Oh,
earlier?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Councilman Rolando. He has
So
a
Council-
resolution he wants to present. Go ahead. I forgot.
Yeah, council members, I want to ask if us to add a late item and ask if you would be, if we could have consensus in not just adding it to the agenda, but actually in sponsoring it. As you know, last week, our nation was attacked at the Capitol Hill. I think it sends an important message for us to deliver a message that we're condemning the riot, the terroristic actions that transpired last week, calling for accountability in this whole matter from all of the people who were involved, all of the actors who've been involved in that heinous act that was committed, that was incited by the President of the United States. Let me just be clear about that. And that and those on the Republican Hill who also played their part, and then obviously the players themselves, the people who are now being rounded up and being arrested by the FBI and federal agents as well. We are drafting a resolution currently. I should have it a draft for you for tomorrow morning. Would ask respectfully if we could add this to the agenda, and if folks wanted to co-sponsor it, to just let Talita know, and we'll make sure that everybody's added as a co-sponsor who wants to. I'm assuming that we probably have uniform consent and agreement in condemnation of those heinous acts that were perpetrated last week.
All right. Thank you. So please email Talita and let her know if y'all want to be added to the resolution. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn at 6:45 PM?
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Solomon, seconded by Councilperson Prinzeri. All in favor of the motion to adjourn at 6:45 PM by affirmation, please say aye.
Aye.
We are out of here at 6:45 PM. Thank you so much, members of the council, council president, members of the public. And remember, when you're out and about, please mask up.
I mean, I could
Take
run up
care,
to the.
stay safe, have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.